Hey guys, this is going to be my first League commentary on here. Now, I know I've been away from YouTube for a long time, but I was thinking about getting back into it with League instead, because this is mostly the game I've been playing all the time. It's definitely a lot more competitive than Pokemon was, so I'm probably able to do better commentary for it. I'm also going to post a few more details in the description, just in case you want to know where I'm coming from. So let me just get started into the game over here. Just going to try to get out our trinket wards early, just scouting for invades and stuff like that. We want to make sure we're not getting invaded early, so I always want to make sure to get out the yellow trinket wards as fast as possible. Then I'm moving over here to guard this entrance with Twitch, because the bush over there that I warded in should cover anyone coming from that side of the river, so we just want to stand here in case they decide to take this route instead. And it looks like our jungler is actually starting on the red buff this time, along with Irelia, so they should be able to handle that by themselves. Now, since we don't actually have to leash for our jungler, we're thinking about rushing to lane early to get the fast level 2. Now, it's possible that the enemy Thresh might be camping in this first bush here, so we do have to be careful about that. We're thinking about actually using the minion wave coming up here as a shield, so basically we're going to hide behind this as we come into lane, just in case they decide to throw out a hook randomly or something like that. And in the meantime, it looks like they've actually made a late invade on our red buff and somehow killed our jungler. So we're going to have to be really careful, considering Shaco is going to be set behind by the buff steal. It's really hard for Shaco to get started since he's going to have to set up his boxes and everything. So we might not be getting any ganks for a while, and we'll just have to play back until then. So right now I'm actually trying to help auto the creeps to make sure we don't hit level 2 too late. Twitch actually steps a bit too close and gets flayed in by Thresh, which means he'll be taking some damage. I don't have my shield off cooldown yet, but I just make sure to contribute as many autos as I can. Support autos can be really underrated in terms of damage, so just make sure you're constantly autoing the enemy team along with your AD carry. They definitely have a much stronger early laning phase than us, so we need to basically step back and let them hit level 2 first. I try to get out so we don't get engaged on, but I do get hit by the Thresh hook unfortunately, so I'm able to shield off the damage at first, but we do need to play back for now. In matchups like this, when the enemy duo lane has more pressure than you sometimes just have to let the lane push towards your tower and farm as best you can. It's honestly not too bad if you lose a few CS as long as you don't die or get snowballed on, because we do manage to scale into late game pretty well, so we just have to farm as best we can and survive until then. Shaco's actually getting ready to gank for us through lane over here, so we're just trying to maybe bait them in. Now Twitch actually gets hit by a Thresh hook from the bush over here, so what I'm going to do is shield him to prevent as much of the damage as possible, and just tornado Lucian, and I'm going to put the exhaust on him right here just to hopefully slow him down. Shaco shows up right here for the 2v3, so I'm just trying to kite back as much as possible. Twitch pops the heal, and I flash away trying to get away, but I do unfortunately get killed off by the last auto from Thresh. Might have been better if I flashed to the other bush honestly, because that way they would lose vision of me temporarily, and I might have been able to survive. So it wasn't exactly the best trade considering they managed to kill both of us in a 2v3, but Shaco does manage to pick up both of the kills, so hopefully he'll be able to snowball off that and maybe gank some other lanes as a result. Now I do see Pantheon in the upper jungle over here, so we do need to make sure that we're not going to get ganked by him, so I'm going to make sure to place a trinket ward in the bush, just so we'll see him coming through river if that happens. And like I said before, they do have a lot more pressure and wave clear than us, so we're basically just trying to let them push us in and try to get some farm whenever it's pushed onto our side like this. Lucian actually goes in here to try to engage, so we're just running backwards and trying to avoid the Thresh hook. So he throws it out and actually misses here while I knock up Lucian with a tornado, and since that important cooldown is up, I know that we can trade back with him right now, so I put on my shield with Twitch and I'm just making sure to auto him as much as possible. I know we can win since they just wasted their biggest CC move, so we decide to go in on that. And now that we've managed to kill off Lucian, we're turning on to Thresh next. My shield is still on cooldown right now, so what we're trying to do is kite into river just until that comes back off cooldown. And what I want to try to do as soon as possible is position myself in between Thresh and Twitch. This is just to make sure if he has his hook up or anything like that, I'll be able to intercept it, so Twitch won't get pulled in by that. And it looks like we actually managed to pick up a double kill for Twitch. Also keep in mind that I was autoing Thresh the entire time. Like I said before, the support autos are really underrated, and they can actually stack up to a lot of damage over the course of a fight. So this is just one of those cases where we were able to punish them because of their cooldowns. So we were able to turn around a 2v2 and get a double kill off that. So now that we've managed to get rid of their bot lane, we're just going to farm the rest of this wave, and I'm going to think about backing soon. I usually prefer to get 800 gold so I can get a sightstone on my next back, but because I'm so low this time and I don't really have any health or mana, I just want to make sure to get out of danger as soon as possible, because if we get ganked when they come back to lane, I won't really be able to do anything about it. And it looks like after waiting a bit, I'm actually pretty close to 800 anyway, so I just make sure to wait a few seconds at fountain, and then I'll have enough for the sightstone. One important thing I also want to say is try to trade out your trinket for a red trinket instead whenever you upgrade to the sightstone, because that item should provide enough wards on its own. So instead of having a yellow trinket, which doesn't really contribute anything you need at that point, you can use the red trinket to clear wards and just give your jungler an easier time ganking for you. The AD carry can also switch to a blue trinket at that point, because that should allow him to scout for vision farther away, and he really doesn't need a yellow trinket either, since the sightstone should be providing enough of that. Now Twitch actually hasn't backed at this point, which means he hasn't built any sort of item advantage over Lucian, so we're just going to farm under our tower and see if anything happens from here. Looks like Shaco's actually coming up from behind for another gank, so we're going to try to let them push us in so he can safely go over this wall, and we'll just see if we can maybe bait them in and start another engage. Thresh is actually going to place down a pink ward here, which kind of baits himself in, honestly. So Twitch actually goes in with his stealth. I'm just making sure to shield him and prevent some of the damage, also applying that AD bonus. And I also make sure to exhaust Lucian right away while autoing the entire time, just to make sure that they cut down on his damage. Now Twitch actually gets really low and he's about to die. Thresh actually makes the final flash and manages to kill him off, which is kind of unfortunate. But the entire time Shaco has been autoing the enemy Lucian and finally kills him off. I just put the shield on Shaco to give him some more damage. I'm also making sure to stay near him when I'm following, just to give him the extra movement speed from my passive. This is just so that he'll be able to catch up with Thresh pretty easily. So it looks like Shaco's able to pick up another double kill. We do lose Twitch, but it's a much better trade this time since I actually survived, and we're thinking about actually pushing out the rest of this lane after I clear this pink ward. Since Lucian won't be back in lane for a while, we want to take this entire minion wave and just shove it into their tower. This is basically going to let us deny all this CS because he's not going to be able to get to it in time. So it's just a thing that you should do every time when possible before you back. Just take the minion wave and shove it to their tower so you can deny some CS. This time when I back, I'm actually going to pick up an amplifying tome just to build towards Magi's. Now this is kind of a snowball item, but I honestly like to buy it every game on Janna just because she scales pretty well with the AP, and it's very easy to actually pick up assists with Janna, especially when you're ahead in this game. So overall, if you can make it work, it's probably the best item to actually secure your advantage. I also don't really need boots right away because with my passive in W, Janna already has enough mobility already, so it's honestly not that big a deal to skip out on boots for a while. Now I was trying to pink over the wall here, but I actually missed the bush, so just pretend you didn't see that, because that was shameful. So Thresh actually comes up and plays Twitch backwards in this case, and we really want to disengage right away because even though we're pretty strong at this point, we want to be very careful when we have a huge minion wave like this, because if we fight too long, we're going to miss CS and also take a lot of damage from the minion autos, so that's just something to always be mindful of. A lot of people really underestimate the damage of minions, so that's just something you have to be careful of whenever you decide to make a trade. Thresh is clearing our pink right now, but because we don't have vision of the tri-bush, I don't want to go contest that because it's possible he might be baiting us in and Pantheon is just going to lantern in after that. Always got to be careful when it comes to pink wards because sometimes the fight over vision can get people killed pretty easily, especially when they're using it to bait in a jungler gank or something like that. We're pretty pushed in right now and we don't have any vision to scout for Pantheon, so what I'm going to do is come around the wall this time. This time I'll make sure to get the ward actually right, so I place it over the wall into the bush. So that'll provide us with some vision if Pantheon decides to gank from the river. It was much safer going around this way than actually warding from inside the lane, where it would be a lot easier for them to engage on me. Lucian also decides to use his ult for wave clear here, so we can just make a quick note of that it's going to be on cooldown for a while. We've gotten to a pretty good point after the jungler ganks, so we're actually applying the pressure on them instead now. So what we can do here is rotate towards Dragon along with Shaco, because after getting some kills we should be stronger than their bot lane in a full 2v2. so we should be able to just go over here and start this without repercussions. Looks like Jace is also going to come down from mid, so this should be a really easy dragon for free. So we should have pretty good control over this lane, as long as we don't get hooked on or engaged or anything like that. We do also have to be careful of Pantheon though, because he probably is around 6 right now, so he could manage to ult in from behind us. Thresh actually throws out his hook and misses here, so we should be able to take advantage of that cooldown again. I'm just going to make sure to use my W on Thresh and slow him down so that Twitch can get a few autos on him. Now they actually decide to participate in the trade here, so Thresh is going to exhaust onto Twitch and lay down his ult. I knock both of them up with a tornado, but I'm also going to have to be careful because Twitch is taking a lot of damage here. So I'm going to use my ult just to blow both of them against the wall, and that's also going to provide a lot of healing for Twitch. I'm also making sure to shield him here so he'll be able to get some damage bonuses on his ult. Right now we're just trying to chase down Lucian and see if we can get a kill. Now we don't actually quite kill him, it's really close but we just barely miss out on it. We do get his flash though, so we should be able to take advantage of that pretty soon if an opportunity arises. Twitch actually traded flashes trying to get a kill onto Lucian, but because he's almost full health and the enemy duo lane is really low, we know we can stay in lane pushing, whereas they'll probably be forced to back. And I actually spot an enemy pink ward over here. And I should be safe for me to clear it this time, because even if Pantheon shows up, we've basically forced the enemy bot lane back, and they're too low to do anything anyway, so it's safe for me to step up into their territory. So it looks like there's actually a lantern gank coming in from Pantheon, so I just make sure to tornado them away. Looks like Trundle is actually coming in as well, so I'm going to be forced to flash in this case just to get myself out of here. So this is actually really good for us because we managed to draw 2 people from other sides of the map to our lane, and we got out without really burning too much of anything. I did have to use my flash, but it's not too bad because I should have pretty good disengage anyway. So it looks like Shaco is going in for another gank here. Since we do have the double stealth, it should be pretty easy to get a kill over here. So I just put the shield onto Twitch for the AD bonus. Lucian E's away, which means I'm forced to turn onto Thresh, so I just apply my slow and use a tornado to knock the rest of them up. Lucian is actually going to pop his ult here and do quite a bit of damage to Shaco, so we're trying to fall back at this point. My shield is just coming off cooldown, so I tried to get it off on him, but I am too late unfortunately, and he actually goes down before my shield comes off cooldown. So I'm going to use it on Twitch instead and just try to fall back as much as possible. We do have a TP coming in from our top laner though, so at this point we know we can turn it immediately, and I just go directly onto Lucian and try to apply my slow, so we should be able to pick up another kill on him. Irelia picks it up that time while I barely survive, so we made that a pretty good trade and we're able to pick off a bunch of them while just losing Shaco. I'm going to back at this point since I have quite a bit of gold, and I should have enough to get the Magi's, so that's going to be the first thing I buy, and I also have enough for boots and a pink ward, so I'm just going to pick up those 2 as well. I really like picking up an extra pink ward whenever I have some extra space and gold, because if you can ever roam to mid and place a pink ward around that area, you can really help out your mid laner a lot by choking out the enemy vision and also providing some ward coverage for them, just in case the enemy jungler decides to gank that area. It's also not a bad idea to place it in one of the bushes in your lane, just in case you want to maybe bait out the enemy team or get your jungler to gank for you. So I'm just going to come over and place my pink ward into this bush. I find that this one is a little bit better for some cases than the island bush in the river over here, because it provides just about the same amount of vision, and also because it's closer to your side, it's more difficult to be cleared out by the enemy team. Right now it looks like the minions are pushing over to our side, so if we wanted to, we could actually freeze it over here and just deny some CS for Lucian, because he won't be able to actually come up without forcing a trade with us. And it looks like there's actually a ward here that our pink ward has spotted, so I'm just going to come back and clear this really quick. I do make sure to ping over here just to let Twitch know that I'm clearing this first. It's a good idea to send out a ping whenever you leave lane. Even at high elo, it's pretty common for AD carries to not notice you've gone, and they might accidentally start a trade without you. So it's just another thing to take as kind of a safety precaution, just making sure that everyone's on the same page here. So I'm going to use the shield here just as soon as I see the laser animation from Lucian. Twitch actually gets grabbed here, but I know that we can turn this because Janna has really good disengage, so I make sure to catch Thresh in the tornado there. Twitch also pops his Bork active here for the slow on Thresh, so even though Thresh flashes away, Twitch is able to use his ult to finish him off. So even though Twitch was the one who got hooked at first, we're able to turn it around really easily because Janna has pretty much the best disengage in the game, and since we're ahead with Twitch finishing his Bork, we were able to basically outdamage them and just get a free kill by turning that. Lucian actually sticks around here, so we should be safe to dive him. I'm just going to put the shield on Twitch for the AD bonus again, and follow up with my W and Q. Panth actually drops in to try to help at this point, but since we've already killed him, he just goes on to Shaco instead. Now, I was thinking about actually diving this guy as well, since we do have some minions here, so I actually exhausted him, but it was a bit premature on my part because my team decides to back out, so it was kind of a wasted exhaust here. I also want to mention that if you're ever in the position that Lucian was in, you basically want to back off tower whenever possible, because a lot of people get greedy and think that they can hold on to that and get the farm, and in reality they just end up dying and losing that as well, so it's just one of those cases where you have to cut your losses and back from there. Twitch also makes the mistake of backing too far up in the lane at this point, so I actually stuck around hoping I could maybe disengage them and protect him, so I'm going to ult them off of Twitch, but I do end up getting hooked by Pantheon over here. And Twitch actually comes back into the fight at this point, but because he's so low, Panth is able to pick him off pretty easily. I'm just trying to run away at this point because I'm really low in mana and I can't really do anything right now. So I'm putting the shield on myself to hopefully survive, but they are going to finish me off as well, so they basically killed both of us for nothing. So when you think about it, both of us actually make mistakes in that case. Twitch makes the first mistake of actually backing up too far, which results in him getting killed, but I also make a couple of mistakes of my own. The first one was actually sticking around in the first place, because if you ever try too hard to save a teammate, usually you can end up in both of you dying instead, if it's really not worth it. It does take some experience to actually realize when you can't save anyone, but that was definitely one of those cases. And the second one was the fact that I actually only hit Thresh when I used that tornado. If I had timed it more properly and lined it up better, I might have been able to cancel Pantheon's jump onto Lucian during his stun. So if I had managed to pay more attention in that case, I might have been able to prevent both of us from dying actually. They also managed to get our tower in the meantime, so basically we'll want to push this up and get theirs in return so that we can end laning phase and maybe start roaming to other lanes. We are ahead of them still, so we just want to make sure that we can take that tower and get something in return. So it looks like the enemy team is actually starting Dragon right now. I do place a ward down to try to get more vision, but it looks like our team is pretty split up right now, so we can't actually contest this. The best thing we can actually do is just to try to get the timer of it. We really can't force anything because we won't be able to get the Dragon in return, being outnumbered like this. It's annoying to lose objectives for free, but it's honestly worse if you try to force them too hard and end up dying for them. So right now I actually catch Thresh, but it looks like Twitch is actually fighting Pantheon right now, so I just know I'm going to have to catch up with him. He actually gets away in time to use the stealth though. I was debating on whether or not I needed to flash shield him, but it looks like he was able to get out in that case, so I'm just going to shield him here as he takes this jungle camp. I was thinking about backing after this, but since Twitch is still sticking around, I decided to just go with him. You really want to stick with your AD carry for the most part, because if they try to push up without you, it's really easy for them to get ganked and killed off that. So if you're not making some other play somewhere else, just try to stick with your AD carry so you can soak up some XP and keep them company. Now I actually make another mistake here of trying to force a play onto Lucian. Pantheon actually shows up for 1 second in the minimap, so he was trying to gank us. I just didn't see it because I was tunneling too hard on Lucian, so that results in my death. I also had my ult barely come up after I died, so I was hoping that would be up in time, but it was definitely a mistake on my part, just tunneling and not seeing Pantheon in time. Luckily though, Irelia is actually able to come down and get a kill off Lucian. I believe he actually flashed at that point too, so we're able to burn that as well. Thresh also wasted his exhaust trying to peel off Irelia, so we can take that into account for future fights. Azir actually flashes over the Dragon Wall to dodge Jace's Shock Blast, but he should be able to catch him up shortly after this. Right now I see the enemy top laner pushed up pretty far by himself, so I'm going to try to join Shaco and maybe get a kill on this guy. Normally I don't recommend chasing after kills, but in this case, Shaco has red buff, Janna's really fast, and I do have the Frost Queen item in case he tries to run away, so I know it's going to be a pretty easy catch overall. I actually didn't have to use my item this time because my W was enough, so that's just a good thing I can do to save the active maybe for a later fight. The enemy first tier top turret is also really low at this point, so since there's 3 of us here, I know we should be able to take this for free. And that's definitely going to help to open up the map, which is really good because right now we're making the transition to mid game. We also want to try to get some wards around Baron area and the enemy jungle over here. And it looks like their blue buff is actually up, so I'm just going to make sure to sweep this area and ward over the wall. This is just to make sure they don't see us taking it and they don't get the timer. There's also a fight starting up in the mid lane right now, so I'm just making sure to run over as soon as I see that. Pantheon's getting Twitch pretty low, but he should be okay in this case because he uses the Bork active to kite back. And I'm going to run over here and actually use my shield on Irelia instead of Twitch. This is because she's already next to Panth, so she's able to make better use of the shield right now. She does get hooked in and flayed by Thresh at this point, but I'm actually going to try to turn onto Lucian, who's coming in from mid lane right now. This is because Shaco's flanking from behind, and I think we can maybe get a kill on him. Now I do miss my tornado because it's barely out of range, so I'm actually going to try to flash W onto him. We don't quite get the kill on him, so we're going to be forced to fall back right now. Trundle's actually pretty strong at this point, so I'm going to be forced to ult. Basically the pillar was blocking my path, so I wouldn't be able to get out if I hadn't ulted. We also try to make a catch on a Trundle here, so I exhaust him. We don't manage to kill him, but we do burn his flash, so it's not too bad of a trade. We can't really do too much at this point since both Twitch and Irelia are pretty low, so we're just going to back before we push anything else after this. I'm also going to drop down my pink ward finally. I'm just going to use this island bush over here because that'll cover pretty much the whole area before I back. I'm actually skipping tier 2 boots right now, just building towards a crucible to maybe help Twitch out. They do have some hard CC from Pantheon and Thresh, so that'll definitely make his life easier in teamfights. And I also have some movement speed for my W as I level it up, so I should have enough movement speed even without tier 2 boots for now. So now I'm trying to get some more vision in the Baron area. I'm just basically putting down some deeper wards so that we can see them coming from farther away. This is just so that if we want to camp a bush or anything like that, we should be able to spot them coming and be more prepared for it. Jace is actually pretty strong, so we're thinking about just sieging up mid right now. Azir actually shows himself here, and with the movement speed we're able to catch him pretty easily and just kill him off. Shaco is also running down mid right now to join us, so since at this point in the game the death timers are pretty long, we should be able to take a couple towers just for free, maybe force an inhib after this. So we're sieging up mid right now when Thresh actually comes in to engage. Panth ults in to try to stop Irelia, so I just make sure to shield her off some of the damage. And Twitch actually manages to kill off the turret in the meantime, so we pick off both Pantheon and the turret. And this is actually going to cause them to surrender the game at this point. So it was a pretty short game overall, but I did get some good stuff to talk about. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and I should be able to answer in the comments pretty soon.